Oh no!
Alatreon's readying a big attack.
Run for your life!
Get your healing items ready.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now that Alatreon is out and I've gotten a feel for the fight, I thought I'd share with you a few tips on not only how to beat him, but how to also survive his supernova, because if you're anything like me when first starting the fight you were carding left and right, but hopefully after this guide we can change all that. Now onto the guide. Tip number 1, and this should come as no surprise, but break his horns as fast as possible and deal as much elemental damage as you can. The reason why Alatreon is able to perform multiple novas back to back is because his horns allow him to manipulate the elemental state he's in, which keeps him at his prime, but the moment you break them you not only disrupt him from changing his element but you limit his ability to spam supernovas on your team. I can't stress how important this is, but because he moves so fast, and his head is so narrow, I can understand how only focusing on his head could be a struggle, so I would actually recommend putting 1 to 2 levels of part breaker on your builds. It may seem excessive, but if you're able to break his horns early on in the fight then you're already off to a great start. For the next tip we're going to focus on the supernova. If you haven't noticed, Alatreon supernova always depends on the elemental state he's in, but there's only 2 elemental properties he uses when goes into his supernova: fire and ice. So no matter what you've done to try and keep yourself alive and you still keep karting, pay attention to your armor's elemental resistances. If your armor has a negative stat for either fire or ice then there's no way you will be able to survive a supernova. Elemental resistance is key in this fight. I know before Alatreon, hunters had no reason to worry about armor resistance because typically monsters were either manageable without worrying about it, or there just wasn't a reason to care when your build needed certain skills to work right. But now is the time where resistance is highly important to pay attention to, so after you eat an elemental large up meal from the canteen, if your elemental resistance for fire and ice aren't at least 20 to 30 points then you're more than likely going to card when faced against his nova. A good way to fix your resistance is by putting a hard resistance decoration of the element your armor is weakest against, and it only costs 1+4 decorations slot. There's no shame in putting elemental resistance on your build. Tip number 3, Jerky and giant seashell scales are your friend. You don't even need speed eating. If your armor resistance is decent enough then you should be able to use one of the items to easily recover your health, as Jerky increases your natural healing abilities and giant shells are like extra max potions, very mandatory for the fight. Tip number 4, don't underestimate your mantles. Throughout my experience with Alatreon, I've learned just how useful some mantles can actually be in the fight. In particular the Vitality Mantle, it has become one of the most underused and underrated mantles. For the fight, the Vitality Mantle acts as a buffer and can actually protect you from the supernova by taking the damage you would have taken. It doesn't protect you completely, however it further helps and prevent you from dying due to the supernova. Now for the final tip. Tip number 5, Flinch Shot as much as possible. This may sound like a basic strategy, but if you don't flinch shot him then you're missing out on damage, which could be the difference between a nova that knocks out your entire team or weakening him to a lower state. It's a little hard to tell, but as soon as you land you can flinch shot him to the wall behind him. Don't miss out on free damage and a strong start to the fight. And there you guys have it, the top 5 tips I was able to come up with for you, to make your Alatreon experience a more pleasant one. If you stick to this mini guide for Alatreon then you're sure to do well. Just remember to break horns, carry jerky and seashells, have decent elemental resistance for your armor, run Vitality Mantle and flinch shot him as much as possible. But with that I would like to thank you guys for watching, and if this tips video was in any way helpful feel free to like, comment, share and subscribe. But until next time my monster hunting fam, happy hunting and remember to stay classy and hunt with style.